Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for checking out the video. Southside Braves here. And today for you, I got week 4 of the NFL. We're going to talk some more football. So sorry last week I didn't have a video. I was sick the first half of the week, and the second half of the week I started buying a house. So I've been working on that last couple of weeks, so that's some real life stuff going on. So I didn't have a video last week, and unfortunately I didn't get to watch much for football the last couple of weeks. So I'm not going to be breaking down any individual games because I didn't get to sit and watch them all the way through. Saw highlights of almost all of them, so I mean I still know what happened, but not going to do an individual breakdown of any games without seeing the whole thing. So, all that being said, let's take a look at some headlines going into week 4. So again, I always going to start with the Steelers. Today we got a Joe Hayden jersey on, a DB that's no longer with the team, but I love Joe Hayden. He actually said, last week or week 4, he's going to retire a Brown, which kind of hurt to hear. That sucked. I wish he would retire Steeler, but he started with the Browns. He was still great for us. So I love him for that. I am wearing this because he is a DB at least, and Minka is going to concussion protocol. And we already don't have TJ Watt, so we need Minka to be healthy this week as we try to pick up a win, as we're sitting at 1-2, and we have not looked good. We're lucky to have our 1 win, so we play the Jets this week. Hopefully we can pick up a win there. What else happened? Last week, AFC South dominated AFC West, just as everyone thought they would. Going into the year, AFC West was supposed to be the most dominant division possibly we've ever seen. Like, that division is insane. And last week, Chiefs lose to the Colts. Raiders lose to the Titans. And Chargers get blown out by the Jaguars. So AFC South, who many thought could be the worst division in football, goes 3-0 against a division that many thought would be the best in football. So, weird week there with the two divisions clashing. But, yeah, AFC South looking pretty good. And last thing I want to say is, right now, 3 weeks into the season, I think if you had to unbiasedly pick the best AFC team and the best NFC team, in my opinion, that would be the Dolphins and Eagles. I know the Bills are still probably the best team in the league, but they did just lose to the Dolphins, so you got to give Dolphins their due. Eagles have looked pretty dominant. Maybe not playing the top tier teams, played some decent teams. And like I said, they've looked good doing it. So I think 3 weeks in, Dolphins, Eagles got to be your top 2 teams. I don't do a power rankings, but if I did, I would give them some credit. Obviously, Bills, Chiefs, Packers, Buccaneers, all those teams are still going to be very good. But 3 weeks in, I want to give Dolphins and Eagles their credit. So, all that being said, let's take a look at all the scores from last week. So, I'm also going to try this week to see if you can see them a little bit better. I know Shiro with the shout out here with suggesting possibly doing it something like this. I don't think this is exactly how he suggests I do it, but hopefully you can see the scores a little bit better. So Steelers did fall to Cleveland 17-29. Chicago beats Houston 23-20. Tennessee beats the Raiders 24-22. Indy beats Kansas City 2017. Miami beats Buffalo 21-19. Some clock management there at the end fell short, and I love the reaction by the offensive coordinator there from Buffalo. If you haven't seen that, if you like some people raging out, check that out. Minnesota beats Detroit 28-24. Baltimore beats New England 37-26. Cincinnati beats the Jets 27-12. Philly beats Washington 24-8. Carolina beats New Orleans 14-22. Jacksonville blows out the Chargers, like I mentioned, 38-10. Rams beat Cardinals 20-12. Atlanta beats Seattle 27-23. Green Bay takes down Brady and the Buccaneers 14-12. San Francisco loses 10-11 to Denver. That Russ team has not looked great. They got to get it together. Even though they're technically winning the division right now, they have not looked good doing it. And Dallas beats the Giants on Monday Night Football 23-16. So those are your scores for week 3 of the NFL season. So, that being looked at, let's go ahead and take a look at our week 4 games. All right, so first up on the docket, Thursday Night Football, we got Dolphins Bengals. This will probably be up after the game, so I'm recording it. The game is actually going on right now. Not watching it at the moment, but I am recording this kind of late because, like I said, I've had some real life things going on. But this is all my opinions before. I do know at the time of recording this, Bengals are winning. That's the extent of all I know. But yeah. Uh, and the reason I'm not just watching that game, by the way, is I did have play softball on Thursday, so the Thursday night game is usually hard for me to see. So I did not get to see the beginning of it, so I'm going to record this, and then hopefully catch the end of it. All right, so injury wise for Cincinnati, missing a D tackle, Reader missing, or Hendrickson, the end is questionable, and Collins, the tackle, is questionable as well. I don't know how big a deal losing a tackle is for Cincinnati. Their line's not good, anyways. How much worse can the bench be? For Miami, a D tackle Davis is questionable. Wide receiver Wilson is questionable. Safety Jones is questionable. Guard Hunt is questionable. Xavier and Howard, their good corner, is questionable. Armstead, one of their really good tackles, is questionable. And Tua is coming again questionable. He is playing. Like I said, the game is happening as we're talking about it. But he is playing. I know that much. Yeah, so Miami comes in real beat up here. But key matchup is, can the Bengals secondary contain the Dolphins' speed? So the Dolphins have fully bought in on this whole speed theory, the money ball of the NFL almost in a way now. Just put everything in the speed category. Almost like somebody playing Madden. But so far it's worked. They beat the Bills, who almost everyone had considered the best team in football last week. So can the Bengals slow down this speed lineup of the Dolphins? Fantasy player to watch here for me is Jamar Chase. Bengals always have some good fantasy options. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, the Higgins. I mean, Bengals are a good fantasy team. So Jamar Chase is always going to be a good option. But the Dolphins games have turned into shootouts late. I know last week was only 21-19, but the Baltimore one was insane. So you can throw the ball against that Dolphins defense, especially if Xavier and Howard's out. Again, he was questionable coming in the day. So I think Jamar Chase could find some holes and pick up some big yardage. We'll see if Burrow throws it to him or the other team. But yeah, I do expect Jamar Chase to have a big day here. Key to victory here, it's real simple, and you'll see this in a couple other games too. Is Tua healthy? That's key to victory. Is, do the Dolphins have their quarterback or not? Like I said, he is playing. I do know that much. But how healthy is he? So if he's healthy and playing well, the Dolphins can very well win this game. Like I said, in my opinion, they've been the best team in the AFC so far, 3 weeks in. But I don't think they will. It being in Cincinnati, Cincinnati's a good team that's still trying to rebound after their first 2 losses. They picked up their first win last week. I think they're going to pick up their second win here. And I have Cincinnati beating the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Next up, I'm going to talk about Jets and Steelers. Like I said, I'm picking the Steelers here. I'm always going to pick the Steelers, especially against the Jets. But yeah, let's take a look at this one specifically. Injury-wise, the Jets missing Fant, the tackle, Wilson, the wide receiver, or Fant is out. Wilson, the wide receiver, is questionable, and then Williams, their linebacker, is also questionable. That could be a big blow if he's not playing. Pittsburgh, 2 DBs questionable. Arkilla Witherspoon, one of our starting corners, and then Minkah Fitzpatrick, our safety. As I mentioned, the reason I'm wearing this is to hope Minkah is healthy because we're going to need him out there. Key matchup here in my mind is it's the return of Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is playing this week. Can Minkah in that secondary turn him over a couple times? For our team to win, if you haven't watched our games, our offense doesn't usually get it done. So we're going to need some turnovers produced by that secondary. Oh, well. I like trying to have my logo back there, but it ain't going to work. So we're just going to undo that. So sorry about that. But sorry, where was I? Oh yeah, Zach Wilson. We're going to need some turnovers by that secondary. Turn him over a couple times, give the offense some short fields, see if we can put up points on the board that way. And Zach Wilson is prone to do that for us, especially his first game back, hasn't played in a month. Fantasy player to watch, though, especially if Minkah doesn't play, is going to be wide receiver Elijah Moore for the Jets. I'm not confident to put any Steeler player as my fantasy player to watch. Our offense hasn't been good enough. But if Minkah's not out there, if Arkilla Witherspoon's not out there, our secondary is already not deep. And obviously, TJ Watt still, so the pressure is not going to be as good as I would like it. So Elijah Moore is my guy to watch here as far as fantasy goes. And key to victory here, I'm going to do the same as I did with the Dolphins. I said it's Tua's health. Key to victory here is Minka's health. I seriously think Minka might be the most underrated safety in all of football. I'm going to say this over and over. I'm appalled that he was not in the NFL's top 100. He does so much for our team. Last year, he didn't have as many splash plays because he was making 139 tackles against the run or whatever. He was one of our only guys that could stop the run. So whatever the team needs, he does, and I think that's awesome. Huge fan of Minka. He needs to be healthy for us to win this game. I would like to believe we can win it without his health, but we're not as good as we once were. So no TJ Watt, no Minka, and I think we're going to be in trouble. So if Minka's healthy, I think we got a good shot here. And obviously, once again, I'm taking the Steelers. Next up, we got Vikings at Saints. Injuries here. New Orleans is quite beat up here. Davenport, Kamara, Adebo, I don't know how to say that corner's name, sorry. Adebo. Winston, May, Landry, Thomas, Pete are all questionable. And then Taylor, the corner, is also out. So, a lot of key people, too, in there, like Thomas, Landry, Winston, Kamara. Like I said, and then, like I said, Davenport, May on the defense, too. So, there's some key guys here that need to play if New Orleans is going to have a chance here. Minnesota, theirs looks much simpler. Dalvin Cook is questionable. That's really the only big one there. So they're coming to the game a little bit healthier, but Dalvin Cook's a big piece. They would like to have him. Key matchup here, I'm just going to keep it between the quarterbacks. We saw primetime Winston, primetime Cousins. Never good. He struggled in primetime. What was that, 2 weeks ago? Like I said, I didn't do a video last week. My last 2 weeks are blending together. I think that was 2 weeks ago, right? When he really struggled on primetime. And then Winston, you never know what Winston you're going to get. He could throw 5 touchdowns. He could throw 5 picks. So which version of Cousins and which version of Winston we get is going to be a big factor in this game. Key player to watch here in my mind is Kirk Cousins. I think we're going to get good Kirk Cousins again. It's not a Monday night, a Sunday night, Thursday night game. It's noon on Sunday, or I'm Central Time Zone, so noon for me, Eastern 1, whatever. Yeah, so I think we're going to get good Kirk Cousins, and I think he's going to kind of dominate this game. So Kirk Cousins is my fantasy player to watch. Key to victory, I kind of mentioned with the quarterbacks, is turnover battle. Which quarterback throws less interceptions will win the game in my mind. I think that's going to be Kirk Cousins, and I think Minnesota's going to win this fairly handedly. But yeah, I think turnover battle will tell you who won the game if you just look at that one stat. So yeah, that is Vikings and Saints. And I think I said it, but my pick is Vikings. Next up, we got Browns at Falcons. Injuries here. Cleveland coming in the game quite beat up. Brian, Denzel Ward, Clowney, I'm not the linebacker with the real long name. I'm not going to even try to say it. Are all questionable. Myles Garrett is doubtful. I know he ended up in the hospital this week. I think it was a car accident. So off the field stuff got him in the hospital. He has been discharged. I know he's out, but yeah, he is doubtful to play this week. Walker Jr., Winovich, and Jesse James are all out. For Atlanta, tackle Wilkinson is questionable. That's about it for Atlanta on their side. Key matchup for me is going to be the Battle of the Trenches. The Browns offensive line versus the Falcons D-line. Browns are the number 1 rushing team in the NFL right now. And if Atlanta allows them to continue that, the Browns are going to run all over them. Atlanta has to shore up those holes. They have to win the Battle of the Trenches. Force Jacoby Brissett to pass against you to win the game. If they can do that, I think Atlanta has a very good chance. Fantasy player to watch, like I said, Browns are the number 1 rushing team in the league, and that's for a reason. My fantasy player to watch here is Nick Chubb. If they continue to ground and pound like they have so far this season, and the Falcons don't win the Battle of the Trenches, Nick Chubb's just going to continue to go crazy. Yeah, and I mean, key to victory, that's simple. The Falcons have to find a way to slow down this rushing attack. Fill up those holes. Like I said, bring 8 guys in the box if you have to. Make Jacoby Brissett beat you. And I think they'll do a good job. I'm expecting a good showing here from Atlanta. They're at home against a Cleveland team that is still not fully staffed, or they're not at full strength. And especially when Myles Garrett's not playing, that puts a chip on their defense as well. if Mariota can hold the ball long enough and take some time of possession away from Cleveland's rushing attack and that offense, I think the defense will do enough to slow it down and win the game. So I'm actually going to take Atlanta at home here to upset Cleveland. Next up, we got the Commanders at Cowboys. NFC East battle here. Injuries here. Cowboys, Dak Prescott is still out, obviously. And then Dalton, Schultz, and Lawrence, 2 key pieces, their tight end and their D end, are both questionable. For Washington, they got a guard who is questionable. Smith Williams, the D end, is questionable. And then Jackson, the corner, is questionable. Key matchup here, I'm going to go back to what I did with the Saints and Vikings. I'm going to do Wentz versus Rush. And I can't believe I'm comparing those two and putting them on the same playing field after Wentz from, 3-4 years ago. When Wentz was on the Eagles and they were making the Super Bowl run right when he got hurt, I legitimately thought he would be MVP caliber for seasons to come. The fact that he has fallen where I'm putting him in the same category as Cooper Rush is insane. But yeah, that's that. My key matchup is who plays better there. We've seen some ups and downs from Wentz so far this year. He's had some great second halves at times, specifically like week 1. And then like last week, they just got stomped repeatedly and he did pretty much nothing. So what does Wentz do here? Cooper Rush is undefeated as a starter. He's looked pretty good. Like I would have no complaints about Cooper Rush. So let's see if he can keep that up. Let's see if we get good wins or bad wins. My fantasy player to watch here is going to be Carson Wentz. I think he will bounce back from last week's poor performance. So far, my mom's a Bears fan, so I know a lot of Bears stuff. So far, maybe he's going to have a Rex Grossman season where he's great one week, terrible the next. Great the week after, terrible the next. So if I'm following that logic, this is going to be a very good week for Carson Wentz. So he's going to be my fantasy player to watch, see if he can go off. I also have him in one of my fantasy teams, so I'm hopeful that I'm right about that. And key to victory here is can Cooper Rush keep it up? If Cooper Rush is as good as he's been in his 3 Dallas start, I think it's 3, right? Maybe 4. I think he's 3-0 though. If he can be just as good and keep that going, Dallas has a good shot here. Dallas is the better overall team, just pure talent wise. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to say Rush finally slows down a little bit. Not that he's been lighting it up like crazy, but he's been good. I think he's going to slow down a little bit. I think we're going to get very good Wentz here for a game. And then next week he'll probably suck again. But I'm going to take the Commanders here to go into Dallas and beat Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. So, come on, Wentz. Next up, we have Seahawks at Lions. Injuries here. For Detroit. For Seattle, D-end Harris is questionable, and that's about it. For Detroit, we got some bigger news here. DeAndre Swift, the running back, is doubtful. Reynolds, the wide receiver, Jackson, the guard, and Amari St. Brown are all questionable. They don't have Swift or St. Brown. They're in big trouble. And lastly, Walker, the safety, is out. Key matchup here for me is Lions rushing attack against Seattle rush defense. Seattle has been pretty terrible defensively to start the year, specifically against the ground or on the ground. They have not stopped the run very well. Not like they've stopped the pass all that well either, but been a little bit worse against the run, I believe. Detroit's been very good on the ground. Like I said, the injury to Swift's going to be a big deal. If he's healthy and he can lead that rushing attack, then great. Like I said, he's doubtful. It doesn't look promising that he's going to play. So it's going to be preseason captain Jamal Williams needing to step up. I loved his Hard Knocks end of practice speech or whatever you call it. He was so emotional. I was ready to run into a wall for that guy. So let's see if he can back it up with his play on the field because they're going to need him this week if Swift doesn't play. Fantasy player to watch, I think he's going to do just that. Like I said, I would run through a wall for that guy based on his speech. So I believe in Jamal Williams. I think he's going to lead that rushing attack if Swift doesn't play. So assuming Swift does not play, my fantasy player to watch here is Jamal Williams. I think he's going to have a big week. He's going to lead that Lions rushing attack and run all over Seattle. I think he'll have over 100 rushing yards for Jamal Williams. Again, that is all assuming Swift doesn't play. If Swift plays, my opinion, that changes. But if he doesn't, Jamal Williams is going to be the lead back and do a great job. So he's my fantasy player to watch. Key to victory. Can Seattle's defense just flat out step up? Geno Smith's been better than expected. Week 1, he was pretty good. And then he was okay weeks 2 and 3. So that defense needs to start doing something. Like, you got to slow somebody down here. That offense, obviously, with Geno, is not going to be top of the league, but they've been doing enough to win some football games. The defense has to do their part now. So that's my key to victory. Key to victory. Can the Seahawks just flat out step up defensively? Unfortunately for them, I don't think they will. I trust Jamal Williams far more than that Seattle rush defense, and I'm going to take the Lions here at home. Which is weird to say again. I've been picking the Lions a few times now, but I do think their team's better. They've made the right moves and they've gotten better. All right. So after the Lions win that one, next up we have Titans at Colts. This is a weird one. All right, but first off, injuries for Indy. Shaq Leonard is still questionable, and safety Blackman is questionable. For Tennessee, DB Jackson is out. Key matchup here, we got the battle of the two best running backs from football last year, Justin Taylor and Derrick Henry. Which of the two can dominate more? I mean, it's like I said, these two teams have been very weird. Tennessee was supposed to be pretty good. I think most people kind of had them as a good team, not great. But they haven't looked it. They got a win last week, but I believe that was their first of the year. So they have not looked all that good. Colts, same way. Like, oh, they got Matt Ryan. That's going to be an upgrade over Wentz. And they were already pretty good last year. They almost made the playoffs, if not for a game where they absolutely choked. So Matt Ryan was supposed to be the upgrade they needed, and they have not looked good up until last week when all of a sudden they beat the Chiefs. So I don't know what to make of either of these teams, to be honest. But I do know both running backs are pretty good. So it's going to be which running back can dominate more, in my opinion, lead their team to a win. For me, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to do that. Even though I'm still in the boat that I think Derrick Henry's better than Jonathan Taylor. I know fantasy-wise, everyone took Jonathan Taylor, and they were kind of down on Derrick Henry a little bit this year, coming off the injury from last year. But I am going to take Jonathan Taylor in this one as my fantasy player to watch. And like I said, key to victory is, I've already mentioned it, is which running back dominates the game more. Whichever one can physically hold the ball longer and just run over some people is going to win the game. So yeah, that's my key. Jonathan Taylor versus Derrick Henry. I think it's that simple. I'm taking Jonathan Taylor and the Colts to win it. Next up, we got Bears at Giants. Tell me how many of you thought this would be a battle of two 2-1 teams. Bears haven't even thrown for 300 yards yet, but they're 2-1. Giants also sitting at 2-1. So another weird one. Injury-wise for the Giants, Sterling Shepard is out. That's real unfortunate. I know OBJ was making a big deal about turf and him tearing his ACL. So that's a kind of sad situation for him. Outside of that, wide receiver Robinson is questionable. Cornerback Robinson is questionable as well. And then defensive lineman Williams is questionable. For Chicago, DB Johnson is questionable. Linebacker Adams is questionable. And then the big one for them, David Montgomery, their starting running back, is questionable. I did not expect him to play after the injury last week. The fact that he's even questionable is surprising to me. I do expect it to be Khalil Herbert as their starting running back, but we'll see. Key matchup here is time of possession. In my mind, both teams have really struggled to throw the football. The Giants have been bad at it. The Bears have been atrocious at it. Again, the second worst passing team in the league, I believe, has like 540 passing yards. The Bears are the worst at like 297. They haven't even thrown for 300 yards yet. And that's in 3 games. So, which team can just hold the ball more? Because this isn't going to be a shootout. It's going to be battle of the ground games. So, limit your opponent's chances, hold the ball. Again, football comes down to a lot of simple things a lot of times. If you have the ball longer than your opponent and you turn it over less, you usually score more points and win the game. So a lot of times games can be broken down to that simple thing. Like I said, I think this is going to be a time of possession battle. Fantasy player here to watch for me because of Montgomery's injury and him being uncertain. I'm going to go with the other running back. Because again, neither team can really throw the ball. So I'm going to go with Saquon for the Giants. Saquon Barkley here is my fantasy player to watch. Bears defense has been pretty good though, so let's see if he can run over it. Yeah, I think with these two teams, your fantasy options are limited. But I do think if Herbert's a starter, if Montgomery doesn't play, Montgomery's fine if he starts. I mean, he's a fine fantasy option. I like Khalil Herbert too. If he's the starter for the Bears, I think he could do a good job. Key to victory: which passing offense will help the running game enough? Neither one's going to be very good, but whoever between Daniel Jones and Justin Fields steps up a little bit and just does enough to take some pressure off the run game. Make the secondary back up a little bit. Make the safeties at least play a little bit deep. Like I said, just do enough to help your run game be more successful. Whichever two passing attacks can do that, I think will do enough to win the game. Like I said, I don't think you have to do a ton to win this one offensively. So we shall see. I'm going to take the Giants at home and picking the New York Giants to be 3-1. Next up, we have the Jaguars at Eagles. All right, injuries here. For Jacksonville, their corner Griffin is questionable. And for Philly, Dallas Goedert, their tight end, is questionable. Key matchup for me here is Jalen Hurts versus that entire Jaguars defense. I mentioned at the beginning that for me, the best two teams in football 3 weeks in have been the Dolphins and Eagles. I do not think they're the two best teams, but I think they've played the best through 3 weeks. Jalen Hurts has kind of been phenomenal. So let's see if he can keep it up. This Jaguars defense has got to give him some looks he hasn't seen. Do something to slow down that offense a little bit. Fantasy player here to watch for me is going to be Jalen Hurts' top target and A.J. Brown. Wide receiver A.J. Brown, I think, could have a good day if Jaguars don't give Jalen Hurts some different looks. I think they're going to do what most teams think to stop the Eagles right now and just bear down on the run, make sure they can't beat you with their ground game. And Jalen Hurts so far has proven that if you do that, he will beat you with his arm. So if he continues to do that, I think A.J. Brown will be his go-to target here, and he's my guy to watch. Key to victory is just, can the Eagles continue to do what they've done? If they continue to look as good as they have the first 3 weeks, and their offense continues to fire on all cylinders, I think they'll handle this game no problem. Jaguars have enough to fight back now, though. If it was Jaguars of last year, I think the Eagles just roll over them. Jaguars last week proved when they dominated the Chargers, and Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good for the quarterback of Jaguars. I think it was actually Offensive AFC Player of the Week. That they got enough to stand this, and if the Eagles don't come out their A game, the Jaguars will just flat out beat them. I do think the Eagles, for at least one more week, will continue their dominance. The offense will continue to fire on all cylinders, and they are going to pick up a win. I think this will be a hard-fought win. Jaguars will put up some fight, but I am taking the Eagles here to win this football game. Next up, we have Bills and Ravens. Injuries here. Buffalo has quite a few. Tackle Doyle is out. Tackle Hart is suspended. I'm not sure what the situation there is. And then a handful of guys questionable. Ed Oliver is questionable. Jackson, the corner, is questionable. Morris, the center, is questionable. Hoyer, their safety, is questionable. Bates, the guard, is questionable. And Stephon Diggs, obviously the wide receiver, is questionable. For Baltimore, tackle Stanley is questionable. And linebacker Houston is questionable. So yeah. Key matchup here. I mean, Josh Allen. I mean, this is battle of two MVP caliber players right now. Again, way too early to talk about MVP, but if you were to do it 3 weeks in, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have got to be two front runners for it. Honestly, Tua would probably be up there too, but these have got to be two of the top guys, probably the top two guys. But man, I apologize. Can't stop yawning. Like I said, I just played softball tonight, so I'm a little tired from that. But that's not my key matchup here. It's not the battle of the quarterbacks. It's specifically Josh Allen versus that Ravens secondary. For The Ravens secondary has had holes all over it. It's not a new thing. They were like this last year too. Tua tore them apart a couple weeks ago. They've given up more passing yards than any team in football. So if they continue to look like that against Josh Allen, he is going to absolutely torch them. They need to be better than they have to even stay in this football game. Right side for them is that the Bills are a little bit banged up at the wide receiver position. I do think Josh Allen will throw this all over the yard and just, I think he'll rack up close to 400 passing yards. I think the only thing that'll stop him from having 400 is if it turns into a blowout. It doesn't need to. But if it's a close game, if the Ravens keep it close, I think Josh Allen could throw 400 here. Stephon Diggs is coming in a little bit banged up, so I'm not going to make him my fantasy player to watch just for that reason. I'm actually going to give it to wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie. I want to see how he does this week. I think he could have a decent week here against this, once again, pathetic Ravens secondary. So that's my guy to watch here. Look and see what Isaiah McKenzie does. Yeah, key to victory is, like I said, the Ravens at least have to make it difficult for Josh Allen to torch them. I think he's going to torch them. But if they can at least make it hard for him, maybe they can stay in this football game. But yeah, the secondary's got to be better. It's just that simple. If the secondary looks the same as it has, this isn't going to be close. I think Baltimore's a good team. I think the way their team is formatted, though, or made up, is a terrible matchup for this Bills team. I think this Bills team has all the advantages here. So I am going to take the Bills here. And like I said, even though it's two close teams, I think this one has a chance of being a blowout as well. Next up, we have Chargers at Texans. Injury-wise here, Houston is running back Pierce is questionable. Linebacker Cashman is questionable. D-tackle Collins is questionable. And then linebacker Pierre Lewis is out. For the Chargers, tackle Slater is out. Linebacker Bosa is out. He was just recently put on the IR. That's bad news for Chargers fans. Wide receiver Gutton. He's out. Keenan Allen is still questionable. Still has that lingering injury from a couple weeks ago. Center Lindsley is questionable. Cornerback J.C. Jackson, I believe, is getting closer to playing. He is questionable. And then Justin Herbert is still questionable with that rib injury. So, big injuries here for the Chargers. Herbert did play last week, even though he didn't play all that well. So I do expect him to play again this week. Hopefully he can play a little bit better. Key matchup for me is going to be Austin Eckler out of the backfield against the linebacker core of the Texans. Eckler needs to be better. He has not had a great start to his season. But yeah, he's going to catch some passes coming out of the backfield, and it's going to be him versus those linebackers. He needs to make some moves, get by him, make the first guy miss, and pick up some yardage on these dump-off passes. Because whether Herbert plays or not, he's not 100%. I think that was pretty clear last week. That he is dealing with some things. I can't imagine playing NFL quarterback with some cracked ribs. Like, that's insane to me. So, I mean, good on him for going through it, but he's obviously not 100%. Now, I'm a big Herbert fan. I'm a big believer in Herbert. But that's got to be tough to do. So my fantasy player to watch is going to be Austin Eckler as well. Like I said, I think they need to put a lot on him. He needs to take some pressure off Herbert. So, I mean, I'm just going to throw that in there, too. My key to victory here is, can Austin Eckler take enough pressure off Herbert where you're not asking him to go win the game for you? Because if he's hurt, like he appears to be, he's going to need some help from his teammates. Austin Eckler is the one I'm looking at the most, especially if Keenan Allen's still out. Mike Williams has done a good job stepping up in Allen's absence. And Palmer has done a good job. What is it? Is it Josh Palmer or Jordan Palmer? The other wide receiver has done a good job, too, stepping up in Allen's absence. But Eckler needs to be the next one to step up. They need a big week out of him, take some pressure off Herbert. Let him not rest a little bit, but take some pressure off his shoulders. I think the Chargers are going to bounce back from the pitiful performance last week against the Jaguars. And the Texans just flat out aren't very good. So I'm going to take the Chargers here to win this game in Houston. Next up, we got Cardinals at Panthers. Injuries here for Arizona. Hudson, Watt, Prater, Connor, Moore, AJ Green, Pugh, and Lawrence. Or let me say it again. Hudson, Watt, Prater, Connor, Moore, and Pugh are all questionable. AJ Green is doubtful, and D tackle Lawrence is out. For Carolina, safety Woods, tight end Thomas, cornerback Horn, Christian McCaffrey are all questionable, and defensive tackle Roy is out. McCaffrey, I think, was added this week. I don't think it was something he did last week. I think he did it during practice this week. So him being questionable is not a new sight for the Panthers or fantasy owners. You're used to McCaffrey dealing with some injuries. But key matchup here for me is going to be the Cardinals DBs against Baker Mayfield. I'm going to be honest. I thought Baker Mayfield had a bad rap in Cleveland. I thought he was pretty good for him, and they kind of just ran him out of town. So far, he's not been very good for Carolina. He does need to be better than he has been for the first 3 weeks. Cardinals secondary has not been great. I mean, I think the Cardinals secondary has been okay. I think it's been... Baker has the opportunity here to show something against this secondary. And he needs to. Baker Mayfield needs to do something this week against the secondary of the Arizona Cardinals, prove that he belongs as their starter. I don't think you're going to get a bunch of people calling for Sam Darnold or anything, but Baker Mayfield just flat out needs to be better. I think he's got it in him. We'll see if he does it this week. And sorry, I'm just looking something up real quick. Yeah, I don't know why I had in my head. I was like, Arizona's secondary been better than I thought. No, their secondary gave up a ton of passing yards. I don't know why I second guessed myself there. It's not been very good. Baker Mayfield can beat it, and he needs to if he wants to save some face here. He's my fantasy player to watch. I expect Baker to have a good week. Like I said, even as a Steeler fan, I thought he got a bad rap with Cleveland. So I'm kind of rooting for Baker to have a good week here, and I think he will. And that's my key to victory, too. It's Baker needs to step up. Much like I called out Austin Eckler in the last game, that they need him. Carolina needs Baker here, especially if Christian McCaffrey's dealing with some injuries. Baker we need peak Baker Mayfield. And I think we'll get it. The Cardinals have kind of been disappointing. They saved a crazy win against the Raiders. But outside that miracle run there, they have not looked all that great. So I'm going to take the Panthers here to win at home and upset the Cardinals, who, week one, I was all on board with the Cardinals. Thought they were going to be good. I've come completely the other way, and I don't think they're very good anymore. And I'm going to take Baker Mayfield and the Panthers to upset them. Next up, we have Patriots at Packers. Injuries here for Green Bay. Bakhtiari, their tackle, is questionable. Jenkins, their guard, is questionable. Alan Lazard, their top wide receiver, is questionable. And Jair Alexander is questionable, their corner. For New England, Mills, the D tackle, I don't know how to say his name. He's questionable. Sorry. DL Guy is questionable. DB Duggar is questionable. Jacoby Myers is questionable. And then Mac Jones, the quarterback, is doubtful. If you listen to Coach Belichick, he's saying day-to-day. Then you say day-to-day, no matter what question you ask him, basically. But so, not looking good for Mac Jones because he is listed as doubtful here. Key matchup here. Going to be a key matchup in most Packers games at this point is their wide receiver core versus Patriots DBs. It was a question coming into the year, who is Aaron Rodgers going to throw the football to? It's gotten better since week one because it was pretty terrible week one. But it's going to remain the question is, can the receivers step up and be good targets for Aaron Rodgers to throw the football to? Especially if Lazard's not playing again this week. He looked okay last week. I believe he caught a touchdown last week. But if no Alan Lazard, you need some of those rookies and the other guys to step up. For me, my fantasy player to watch, I'm going to go with the rookie Romeo Doubs. I think it's Dobbs. It's, but he's going to be my wide receiver here. Romeo Doubs is going to be the guy I look to have a good week for the Packers. I do think they're going to throw it on the Patriots secondary and be successful doing it. Whether or not Lazard plays or not, I'm going to be interested to see what Dobbs does here. Um, but if Lazard doesn't play, I think he could have a very good week. But yeah, that's going to be my guy to watch here. Key to victory, I did with other injured quarterbacks. It's going to be Mac Jones' health. I don't think the Patriots offense is very good even with Mac Jones. I don't want to see it without Mac Jones. So that's going to be my key to victory. They're going to need him to play and play well. Don't think either will happen, to be honest. I don't expect him to play, and even if he does, I don't think he'll play well. So I'm going to take the Packers here at home to beat the Patriots. Never liked the Patriots. Love getting a pick against them. Next up, we got Broncos at Raiders. The Raiders, the only 0-3 team in the league. I think they're fairly talented, but like I said, I thought that division was going to be pretty dominant, but they're 0-3. Injuries here. The Raiders, Yasin, the corner is questionable. Perryman, the linebacker is questionable. Safety Morig is questionable. Center James is questionable. Hunter Renfro is questionable with a concussion still, I believe. And then corner Hobbs is questionable. For Denver, Turner, the offensive lineman, is questionable, and Jones, the defensive tackle, is questionable. Key matchup here is for me is Derek Carr versus that Broncos secondary. The Broncos have not been putting on a ton of points. So if Derek Carr can find some holes and gaps in that secondary, be the leader this team needs. You're 0-3. Somebody's got to step up and just be the captain of this team. That's your job, Derek Carr. Find some holes in that secondary and pick them apart. Fantasy player here to watch for me is going to be Derek Carr's number one target, and that's Devontae Adams. I still thought Renfro would be good this year, even with Devontae Adams there. He hasn't been all that great. Had a couple fumbles. I think it was 2 weeks ago, right? Either last week or the week before. Had a couple fumbles. Once again, sorry, the games are all... My memory is already terrible, so telling you which game was week 2 and which game was week 3 is already rough for me. But yeah, Devontae Adams is who I'm thinking is going to step up here. I think Derek Carr is going to step up in a big way. The Raiders need him to, and I like Derek Carr. I think he's a good player. So I think when his team needs him most here, he'll step up, have a good performance, and Devontae Adams is going to be who he's looking for the most. So Devontae Adams is my fantasy guy here. And my key to victory is just those two guys. Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. Your team is 0-3. You're the only 0-3 team in the league. Go be superstars and win this game. Just flat out. Go win this game for your team. Devontae Adams, kind of jokingly, even if he didn't mean it that way, called Derek Carr a Hall of Famer at the beginning of the year. Go play like that, Carr. Like I think he's talented. He's got talent in there. I'm not calling him anywhere near a Hall of Famer. He's nowhere near Aaron Rodgers. But he's got talent. Go win your team a football game. And I like his mentality on the field. I think he's going to do just that. Him and Devontae Adams, I think, will go win this game and have a big day doing it. So Raiders are my pick here to beat the Broncos in Las Vegas. Next up, we have the Sunday night game, Chiefs at Buccaneers. This one's a little weird. Last I heard, the game is still in Tampa. We got hurricane going on down there. So hopefully this game happens. Hopefully they can keep it in Tampa, but it may be moved from what I've heard. So we'll see. Injury-wise, for the Chiefs, Valdez-Scantling and McCole Hardman, both wide receivers, are questionable. And Harrison Butker, their kicker, is still questionable. For Tampa, Godwin is still out. Mike Evans is suspended for this game. And Tackle Smith is questionable. So Evans and Lattimore got into it again last week. So Mike Evans is suspended. So key matchup here for me is the Bucs pass rush. They got to get to Mahomes. Mahomes is missing some wide receivers. They can be had. They got beat by the Colts last week, so that's doable. So Bucs got to get some pass rush on Mahomes, make him uncomfortable. That was always their Achilles heel when the Chiefs were at their peak, and it can still be done. So let's see if they can get to him. My fantasy player here to watch is basically the one healthy wide receiver for the Chiefs, Juju. Obviously, I'm a Steeler fan. I still got love for Juju. So I'm hoping to see him step up in a big way this game and be the fantasy guy that owners want him to be. Key to victory here is last team standing with wide receivers, I guess. Like I said, Valdez-Scantling and Hardman are both questionable for the Chiefs. Godwin and Evans are out. Julio is still dealing with a lingering injury. I know Juju was hurt earlier in the year. Which team has healthy wide receivers? is going to win the game. Yeah, I mean, I think it's that simple. Both teams would prefer to throw the ball. The Bucs will run it obviously more than the Chiefs will, but yeah, you got to have some guys that can catch the football. So we'll see you as some healthier ones come game time. And yeah, and then the hurricane, like I said, is a big factor here too. Does this game even get played? Does it get played in Tampa? Does it get moved somewhere nearby? Like I said, this one's in the weather's hand quite a bit as well. I'm going to take the Buccaneers at home if it is at home. But with all the question marks, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. Lastly, the Monday night game, Rams at Niners, final game of the week here. Injury-wise, San Francisco, Armstead, the D-tackle, is questionable. And then Alshire, the linebacker, and the tackle Williams are both out for San Francisco. For the Rams, their center Allen is out, and their cornerback Long Jr. is questionable. All right. My matchup here is, I mean, it's going to sound simple. Rams scoring offense versus Niners scoring defense. The Niners defense has looked really good 3 weeks into the season. They've been holding teams down in yardage on both passing and rushing. Can the Rams put up points against this secondary or against this defense? We saw week 1, they played a Bills defense that has looked pretty good, and the Rams looked pitiful. The Niners defense is definitely on par with the Bills in my mind. So if they let that defense stump them like they did in week 1, San Francisco can absolutely win this football game, and I think they will if the defense looks that good and the Rams look that bad against it. Fantasy player here to watch for me is Brandon Ayuk. The Niners are going to have to put some points on the board to win. That's how you win football games, is you got to score some points, specifically more than your opponent. So I still love Debo, big player in that. Brandon Ayuk's had a good year so far. He's been one of the offensive players getting some stuff done. So he is my fantasy guy here to watch. And the key to victory is, again, the 49ers defense has to dominate this game. If the Niners are going to win this game, you have to, at the end of the day, say, wow, that defense was good. If they can do that, they got a shot here. And then the other thing is, can Garoppolo do enough to win the game? He was a master of that when they were going to NFC Championship games and such, is doing enough for his defense to dominate the game. They need that again. I think that gives them the best chance to win over Trey Lance still. So can he do enough? Can that defense be good enough to win? I think the Niners defense is going to look dominant. I think the Rams are going to struggle against it again. And I'm going to take the Niners to win on Monday Night Football against the Rams. A divisional game, never know what can happen. But yeah, I'm going to take the Niners here in that defense. All that being said, that is all of your week 4 games. Once again, if you want to, actually, let me mention them. The picks. So three of us are in the Pick'em League. Feel free to join if you're watching these and you want to make your picks and see how you do against me. Never too late to join. We can look at them week by week. But so far, me, Shiro, and Cody have all been doing them every week. I am currently in first, and Shiro and Cody are tied right now for second. They're both one game above 500. I believe I'm 4 above 500. 4 or 5. I think I'm 4, though. I think I'm 3 games ahead of them. So feel free to join that if you want. We did have an eliminator going, but with the craziness of the first 3 weeks, we've all been knocked out of that. So not a good year for our eliminator picks. But yeah, feel free to join in our pick'ems, and I'd love to see how you do. But those are all my picks this week. Hopefully, I can continue to get some good picks and correctly pick the winners here. So I'm going to stop rambling. I hope you all have a good week in that, and we have some good football games to watch. And I'll see you guys next week for another week of football. Yeah, hope you all have a good day and a good night. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I really would appreciate it. Check out some of my other videos if you haven't. I would really appreciate that as well. And yeah, love talking to you all about some football. And I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.